Well, hey there, everyone. It's Mrs. Asaro here with another First Chapter Friday. I am beyond excited for April to begin because April is National Poetry Month. Poetry is my very favorite thing to teach, and I absolutely love introducing middle schoolers to books in verse. A book in verse means that it's written in a series of poems. Regular books are written in what we call prose, but what I'm going to read to you today is a book in verse, and it is such an important book for you to hear about. It is a book that I know you will absolutely love, and this might be the book that I'm actually most excited to bring to you since I've started my channel. That's a big buildup. The name of the book is Other Words for Home by Jasmine Warga. Before we get into it, I want to make sure that you have your First Chapter Friday sheet. It is free. I will link it in the video description. I recommend printing out a bunch of these, and when you hear about new books, you can fill it in. And when it's time for your next read, you will have something to refer to. So let's hear about this amazing book called Other Words for Home. I'm going to read to you from the book jacket. I am learning how to be sad and happy at the same time. Jude, who, by the way, Jude is a girl, Jude never thought she'd be leaving her beloved older brother and father behind all the way across the ocean in Syria. But when things in her hometown start becoming volatile, Jude and her mother are sent to live in Cincinnati with relatives. At first, everything in America seems too fast and too loud. The American movies Jude has always loved haven't quite prepared her for starting school in the U.S. And her new label as Middle Eastern, an identity she's never known before. But this life also brings unexpected surprises. There are new friends, a whole new family, and a new school musical that Jude just might try out for. Maybe America, too, is a place where Jude can be seen as she really is. This lyrical, life-affirming story is about losing and finding home, and most important, finding yourself. It's a good one. One thing that I love about novels in verse is that they move along very quickly. The chapters are super, super brief, usually just a couple of pages long. So I'm going to do more than read the first chapter. I'm going to read the first few chapters to you, okay? All right, Other Words for Home. Part 1 is called Changing. And here is the first chapter or the first poem, okay? It is almost summer and everywhere smells like fish, except for right down by the sea, where if you hold your nose just right, you can smell the sprawling jasmine and the salt water instead. In the summer, I always hold my nose to avoid the stench of fish and tourists that smell like hairspray and money and French perfume. The tourists come from Damascus and Aleppo, sometimes even Beirut and Amman. Once I met a man all the way from Doha. I asked him about the big skyscrapers that I have heard reach all the way to the heavens. But Baba hushed me quiet before the man could answer me. Baba does not like for me to talk to tourists. By the way, Baba means father. Strangers, men. He does not want me to talk to anyone that I do not know. And even people that I do know, he always says, Jude, skate. And so I bite my tongue, and it sometimes tastes even worse than the way the summer fish smell. Everyone is saying that there will be fewer visitors from Aleppo this year, that there is no one left in Aleppo to come. that everyone who could leave Aleppo already has. When I ask Mama if this is true, she says, Jude, skitag. Okay, that's a different language, by the way. That's an Arabic word. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Skate, and it means shh, quiet, don't talk. All right, we're going to move into the second verse. And while I'm reading, it's also really good to listen for a lot of the poetic devices, such as similes and metaphor and personification, okay? Our city does not look like what they show on TV of Syria. I remember the first time Fatima and I saw a story about Aleppo on the news. We felt proud. I knew that it is strange to say, childish maybe. It felt strange even then, but it also felt like the rest of the world saw me. But our city does not look like Aleppo before or after. It is not sprawling and noisy with buildings pressed up against one another like they are crammed together in an elevator with no room to breathe. Our city is on the sea. It sits below the mountains. It is where the rest of Syria comes when they want to breathe. No one is going to come this year, Fatima says. And I wonder if that is because there is no one left who needs to breathe. Verse 3. Fatima is 24 days, 6 hours, and 11 minutes older than me. She did the math. Fatima hates math, but loves when she comes out on top. We have always been friends. Mama and Aunt Amal have known each other since they were girls. We live across the courtyard from them, and sometimes when I was little, I would squeeze my eyes shut at night and pretend that Fatima and I were dreaming the same dream. When I was little, it was easy to imagine that Fatima and I were always in step, 4 feet pointed in the same direction. But the last few months have been different. Fatima feels kilometers ahead of me now. Her dark curls aren't on display anymore, tumbling to her shoulders in unruly waves that remind me of laughter. Her head is wrapped in silk scarves that are bright and colored like jewels. She is one of the first girls in our grade to cover. I am still waiting to feel like I have something worth covering. Verse 4, you're going to hear about something called Aspharnia. I hope that I'm pronouncing that somewhat correctly, which is an afternoon tea. Fatima and I almost always have our Asnamaya together. Either Mama makes it or Auntie Amal. Fatima likes to have olives, green and black, so fat you can stick your fingers inside them and eat them one by one. I think olives taste like the sea, and all that salt makes me dizzy. I eat the jebna and the bread that Mama gets from Hiba's bakery around the corner because she knows it is my favorite. Hiba makes her bread as fluffy as a pillow. I eat so much of it that Mama always has to remind me that Aspharnia is supposed to help me last until dinner, but it's not dinner. During Aspharnia, we drink tea. Or Fatima drinks tea and I drink sugar and mint with a side of tea. We watch old American movies that we bought with our Eid and birthday money. We watch Julia Roberts fall in love. And we watch Sandra Bullock track down criminals. And we watch Reese Witherspoon go to law school. Fatima and I both want to be movie stars. Fatima also wants to be a doctor, but I only want to be a movie star. The wanting pulses so hard in my chest that it sometimes hurts. My older brother Issa used to watch the movies with us. He would sometimes even act them out with us. standing up on the couch, imitating Reese's way of speaking English, all slow and sugary. He used to until one day Baba came home from work early and walked in on us, acting out the movies. Baba didn't say anything. Not even Jude, Skate. He didn't even look at me. Only at Issa. He shook his head and walked into his bedroom. Okay, verse 5. Fatima and I like to find bits and pieces of ourselves in the faces of movie stars. We have decided that Fatima has Sandra Bullock's dark eyes that are so expressive you could tell if she was laughing, even if her mouth was covered. Speaking of mouths, I have one, and it is big, like Julia Roberts. At least that's what I tell myself. Someday I hope I will be a movie star, and some other little girl will look at me and say, I have her eyes, her nose, her hair, her laugh, and she will feel beautiful. Maybe someday Julia Roberts will see me and think I have her mouth. Last one, 6. I am walking down by the shore with my favorite person in the whole world, my older brother Issa. We are strolling down the stretch of beach that is open to everyone. Only people who, like Issa and me, have always lived here walk on this beach. Only people who don't have piles and piles of money walk on this beach. Soon we will be able to walk anywhere we want, Issa says. Things are going to change. I follow his eyes to the other side of the beach where there are plush white chairs, shaded by white and blue striped canopies. The chairs sit empty, but they are not open. The salty wind is whipping through Issa's dark hair, and he is wearing his serious face. His serious face is new. Issa used to love to sing American pop songs with me and Fatima at the top of his lungs. He knew every word of Madonna, Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey. Now he knows other words like revolution, democracy, and change, change, change. He is always talking about change. My feet sink into the sand, and I realize I do not want things to change. I want things to go back to the way they were, which I guess is another sort of changing. But it is not what Issa is talking about. The sky is melting overhead. The sun, like my feet, is sinking. Lower and lower, swirls of yellows and dusty pinks. Are you coming to dinner? It still feels strange to ask my brother this question. His presence at Gada used to be as certain as the sunset, but now that has also changed. Issa's face switches again from serious to sorry, and I know he isn't coming. I'm meeting Saeed and Jasmine, he says, and Baba would tell you that my brother and his friends are plotting revolution. Our Baba is furious that Issa goes to these meetings. He calls them treasonous, and Issa says that it is our president, Bashar al-Assad, who is treasonous, who is oppressing his own people. Issa shouts at Baba about free elections and real democracy, and unlawful use of force. And Baba shouts about stability and safety, and then stability again. You should come with me, Issa says, bringing me out of my memory and back to the beach. He knows that I can't. I am not like Issa. I am good at taking an extra piece of bread at Gada, at talking too loudly and too quickly about American movie stars. I am not good at defying Baba. You should care about our country, too, he says. I do, I say. But what I mean is that I care about my brother and my Baba and my mama, and I just want to live in a country where we can all have dinner again without shouting about our president or rebels and revolution. So, as you can see, this is a very powerful book, about revolution in Syria. It's historical fiction as well as being a novel in verse. And I really encourage you to take it out from your local library. My library did not have it on the shelves, but they called a local library and they were able to get it for me in a couple of days. So I hope that you enjoyed it. If you have any titles that you would like to see featured on my channel, be sure to drop me a note in the comments. Until then, happy reading, and I'll see you next Friday.